Hi guys, welcome back to OG Cars, and today we are back with the 1974 Wartburg Knight, doing a few more little repairs to it. In the last video we changed the spark plugs, and cylinder 3 had a little run-in with not having too much thread left, but seems to be okay at the moment, so we're running with that. And we also changed the alternator belt and cleaned up the dynamo, spade terminals, but unfortunately we still have the battery light on, so we'll figure that out another time. But we changed the wiper blades as well, and now we just have some rear wheel cylinders and a fuel filter there, and also I might have a little look at the exhaust on here as we've got a few holes in it. The jack is ready under the side, and as I need to get to the rear wheel cylinders, I've taken off the cap, and now I just have to take out the outer piece as well, and then I can loosen off these wheel nuts, and then we can get the car lifted up and get those wheels off. I jet the car up with a bit of wood in between on the centrepiece of the chassis. I've just placed my axle stands and let the jack down, so now I'll move it to the other side and just do the same there. That's the car now up on all 4 axle stands, and I've just left the jack on the other side just for extra safety precautions. So now I'm going to whip those wheels off. We're now just going to pop off the drum so we get access to that wheel cylinder. It is actually a pleasant surprise to see that the brake hoses and lines have been done on this semi-recently. I think they look fairly new. I've just put on a brake clamp to stop the brake fluid passing through when we take off the wheel cylinder. So here is our setup on this. We just want to change this wheel cylinder here. So similar to how we did the Twingo just before, there's 2 bolts holding on the wheel cylinder to the rear lining, and then there's the union there. So we just want to undo those 3 and then pull the wheel cylinder off from the front, and then refit a new one and put it all back together and check for leaks once we've bled it through. Unlike the Twingo, this brake union actually has a size that hasn't been half rounded off, so I can actually fit this special flanged type spanner over the top of the union to undo it. So let's hope it undoes now. Yeah, no problems at all. I'm glad it has been worked on semi-recently because everything came undone a treat, so that's all good. That's everything off the back there. So now the wheel cylinder is loose. I can just push these pistons in and retrieve the cylinder itself. In fact, even easier than that, these shoes actually tilt forward and backwards on this little pin, so I've just tilted them forwards, and then I don't even need to push these pistons in because the way they're designed, they've got a little groove in, so I literally just slide it off like that, and there we go. That's the old cylinder out, as easy as that. So here's our new cylinder now that the old one's off. It's got the same mounting points, so that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to slide it back on and do everything back up the reverse of removal, and then once it's all done up, we can put the drum back on and bleed the brakes. So here's the old cylinder. I've just taken it apart. Got the empty cylinder there with the piston each side, and then you've got a spring joining the 2 pistons. It's got like a little seal on the back there, which obviously stops the brake fluid from getting past there, because the brake fluid comes in, and obviously it's in this spring area, and it forces up against that seal, which pushes the piston out against this piece, which sort of joins to the shoe here. So yeah, whenever you press the brakes, it forces the fluid in and forces those out. And yeah, the new one's all done up, so I'm just going to pop the drum on, and before we bleed it, I'm going to take the clamp off the brake hose, and I will just quickly do the other side off camera, just so that we're at the same stage on both sides. So the drum is back on and the brake bleed is now open. I've got a washer pipe attached to the back of the bleed nipple. I had to heat up the end of it with a lighter. That does help if you want to get something quite small onto something. Tight fit, but it's there. And I've got the old brake fluids going into this old can, so I'm just going to let it bleed for a while and then tighten it back up. Over at the front, I've got the reservoir cap open, and I've got some brake fluid ready to go in when I need it. You may have noticed earlier that I'd put some WD-40 on this area where the manifold joins the downpipe on the front silencer, and that is because I want to take the whole exhaust off. Now, it's all looking a bit precarious around the mount area here, and there's only 1 bolt actually holding it on here anyway. So I wanted to get the front silencer off because this car came with a new front silencer to fit. So I thought that would be ideal. And while I was under there inspecting it before, the mid box has some holes either side of it, so I wanted to inspect the area and see what we could do with that as well. I've just done up the last brake bleed and I've topped up the fluid and put the reservoir cap back on there. And what I've done now is I've just put a rod in between the brake pedal and the bottom of the seat again, and this is just to check that we've got no leaks and that we have some brakes. So I can't turn the drum, which is good, so it's got some brakes and it's not leaking down there. And same again on the other side, just to check we got no movement at all in the drum, which is good. Got some brakes and there's no leaks there either, so happy days. That's the brake cylinders done. Let's look at the exhaust next. I've removed these two 14mm bolts and the 13mm bolt that was left in here. This is a bit wobbly as well, so I think I'm going to need to tighten up these two bolts, which are up here where the mount is. So the exhaust is now away from the car, so I'm just going to start dismantling the rest of it from the rear. So working at the back of the car now, I've just removed the 13mm nuts holding on that exhaust clamp and pushed it off, and I've just removed the very tight 10mm which held the exhaust hanger up here into the seam, so that's dropped off now, and this is actually turning, so we can hopefully just pull it off the end and then we can have the rear piece off the car. And it's about to go, there she is, first piece off. So we're underneath now under the mid box, and you can actually see where our extra noise is coming from. It's holed around here and there's a few more on the other side, and it's actually splitting there. I don't think it's looking too great on the other side as well. Not too bad in fairness, but yeah, I've just removed the 30mm nuts to get rid of that exhaust clamp now. Now I'm just going to get rid of these mounts, two mounts there, undo those and see if I can and get that box out. So the two 13mm bolts holding it on are all loose now, so it's sitting basically on the handbrake cables, which is not ideal. So what I'm going to do actually is undo the front exhaust mount just there, and the rest of it's not attached anyway. So what I'll do is get that off and then jiggle the front end of the exhaust out of that. Hopefully it's starting to slightly break free of that, so that's good. And then once that's out of the way, hopefully I can sort of scoot this round to get it out from around the brake cables. Otherwise, I'll have to undo the handbrake cable from the front, which isn't the worst job in the world, but if I can make it easier on myself, I will. And there she is off the car. Now, the front piece came off fairly easily. It just literally slid off of there. I haven't even undone that clamp, so the front piece was still attached to the mid box here. So I went to the back of the car, well, midway, and I managed to angle it through the handbrake cables easily enough, and then I pulled it backwards, and as I lifted it through the back, it literally just split there, so that bit's absolutely stuffed. So here is our precarious fuel filter design. This has had an electronic pump fitted, which I believe is actually recent because it did have another electric pump on which died, so this is a new one. But the way, I don't even know why they've bothered to do this, but they've put the filter in literally the worst place, because anywhere else it would not have been anywhere near this giant piece. And so this giant piece here is forcing the filter down and putting too much stress on the ends and bending it. And to be honest, there's a little bit of something or other in the filter anyway, so I wanted to change it for a fresh new one. But what I'm going to do is just remove these clamps and see if I can't just fit this slightly better than it is. The most ideal thing to do, I think, would be to relocate the pump further forward and have a better rubber pipe just coming up to here, having the filter here, but it's all welded on, and I don't have the equipment to do that at the moment. So for now, I'm just going to do that. Either that, or if I had some more rubber pipe, what I would do is probably cut this back further, put the filter here and rubber pipe to here. But again, I don't have any rubber pipe at the moment, so I'll see what I can do with what I've got. It's not perfect, but this will do for now. I've just pulled back the fuel pipe so that it's not pulling it all the way upwards. So now it's sitting down there fine. I've pulled this down very slightly as well on that welded plate so that the fuel pump sits slightly lower, and now it's fairly straight and not too much tension on there. Obviously I'll keep checking it and make sure it's not leaking or having any other problems, but at some point I think it would be nice actually to cut the line perhaps here and have the fuel filter here and just a slightly longer rubber under there. But for now I think that is all fine, so that's the fuel filter done. I've got a bit of a fuel trickle down my fleece jacket as well, so that smells absolutely fantastic. Not just fuel, it's two-stroke oil as well, so that's nice. Anyway, I bet this is going to sound glorious with no exhaust on, so well, we'll test it now because I want to see if the fuel filter is still delivering fine and check for any leaks. So I'm going to start up. the good news is that it's getting fuel and there is currently no leaks, so that's a bonus. And the bad news is that that exhaust is ridiculously loud, so it can't stay like that. But that's fine because we knew it wasn't going to anyway. Next up, I'm going to put on the front silencer and see how unbearable that is, because what I'm considering is obviously getting some new bits up for the rest of it and just leaving the front silencer on for now and then mating up the rest of it afterwards. There's no way that's going back on the car anyway. That is absolutely stuffed. It's about to fall off. So I went to fit up the exhaust, but unfortunately I think there's meant to be another mount here. Now on the old exhaust it's welded. I will just quickly go and show you that in a moment. But basically whatever mount it is, I don't have it. So it sits too high up and hits the chassis before it meets the engine mount. So we're going to have to do some improvisation. So here is the old one. Now it has this special mount just welded to the actual exhaust itself. It's got this outer shield which is all sort of falling apart, and it was riveted to the bottom of here to try and keep it all together, but it wasn't doing a very good job and it was just jumping about. So what I'm going to do, or what you can see I have done already, is I've cut some angle grinder slots. I'm basically just going to remove the shield from the exhaust front silencer and see what it looks like underneath. With a bit of angle grinding and levering, I've got the outer shield all off. So here's what we're left with. It's not perfect, but it's certainly not bad at all. And obviously the mounting points is still there, most importantly. So I'm going to connect this back up for now, just so that it's not ridiculously loud. Well, it would probably still be ridiculously loud anyway, but not as ridiculously loud. So I've done up these two 14 mils again, and I've done up the lower bolts. I've added a new bolt with well, I say a new bolt, it's an old bolt from the midsection actually, with a new washer. And I've just done up the two bolts up here as well. I did take them both out and try and clean things up a little bit. Sprayed a bit of WD-40 on there and put it all back together. So let's start up and see how loud it is this time. Also, this has been flailing around a little bit. I say that it was on, I did just manage to pull it off by hand though, so we'll just push it on by hand for now, and if I can get it over the hole, there we go. Now we can try. I'm just going to add this piece of exhaust back in. This was up to the midsection and there was a little hanger about there, so I'm going to put that back on just to make sure that the fumes aren't going straight in there. I have just redone the battery clamps and put the battery terminals back on because it's starting to rain now, and I really just want to get this on quick, get the wheels on quick, get the car off the axle stands, and then call it quits for today. I've reattached the midsection piece of exhaust, and I've put the car back down on the floor, torqued up the rear wheels and put the caps back on. I've checked that everything's all done under the bonnet for now and tidied everything away. So that is all for now. Thanks very much for watching this video, and there'll be plenty more Wartburg shenanigans to come, that's for sure, along with everything else. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. What do you think you're doing?